I must admit, I was a little nervous before this conversation with Tina. After all, we had never met before. But I didn't need to be. From the very first minutes, it felt like we had known each other for a long time, and we had so much fun. Tina Tornell's big life transition did not come after a dramatic event, but through the slow realization that after 20 years in banking, she wanted something more meaningful. She left it all behind to devote her life to helping others understand themselves better. From banking to self-awareness is therefore the theme Tina chose for her life story. If you're Swedish, you'll probably know Alfons Åberg. Tina's childhood was a little like Alfons. After her parents separated, she was raised by her father, something quite unusual at the time. And you discover that the close relationship between the two of them would later bring both love and conflict, making Tina's life story so unique and deeply human. You love Tina's positive energy and passion for life, and if you're watching the video podcast, you also love her beautiful smile. Together, we explore the Enneagram, a fascinating framework describing 9 personality patterns that can help us better understand ourselves and the people around us. Interesting, Enneagram means 9. Yes, maybe there is something special about that number. Enjoy episode 3 of the summer series. 9 Saturdays, 9 stories, 9 wonderful people. And yes, the more I meet these 9 wonderful people and reflect on their journeys, the more I find myself thinking, Viva the summer of 2026 and Viva la vida. Hello, Tina.
Hello, Heraldo.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
So exciting.
Yes.
You're here for, I think this is going to be so exciting. You have such an amazing life, big transitions.
Yeah.
From banking to what you're doing now. To start with, we're going to go through the little Tina all the way to today, but we start with you chose a theme that you call from banking to self-awareness, right?
Yeah.
Can you explain this, and specifically self-awareness? Why self-awareness is so important? And I understand it, but what is it is with the core and then the self-awareness.
Yeah. I mean that transition has to do about my working life. And when I was around 40, a little bit over 40, I started feeling my work didn't feel meaningful to me. And what already had started to feel meaningful for me since I was in my 30s was understanding myself. So self-awareness started being a theme already, maybe when I was 35 or so. And just saw in my own life and in my working life and everywhere how important it was for people to actually understand how they function and how they come across and what happens together with other people. Because I think we have a good self-awareness, then we don't get into conflicts or misunderstandings, or at least less. I'm sure they happen anyway, but definitely less, because we know what it is we sort of send out into the world a lot better. Then, of course, we can't exactly know, and we come across differently for each person we meet, of course, because they have their own personality that sort of translates our behaviors. But I felt that was so important and so interesting. And then along the line there, I came across this very good tool for self-awareness, which is called the Enneagram.
Okay.
And that sort of became my shift. We can talk more about that.
Yeah. With self-awareness, then it means that we are better prepared and understand our purpose, our meaning, why we are here. And
Yeah, and also our patterns.
yeah,
Seeing our patterns is so self-awareness is, as I've worked with it, has a lot to do with understanding our sort of limitations and patterns, and seeing how we come into the same kind of things usually when we're under stress, or
yes,
there's something going on in our lives that's not good, or and understanding that, and understanding also, I think one but really different part is understanding that other people are different. So we can't expect from others the same things that we expect from ourselves. And really valuing the differences is also important. And then, of course, seeing our strengths and working more with that. And that's actually different for different strategies, as we call them in the Enneagram. So different personalities. Some have to work more with their seeing their limitations, and some might have to work more with seeing their strength and actually appreciating that, because they have too much focus on their own limitations.
exactly.
But that's also a little. So it's a lot about what's going on the inside,
Yes.
how we see ourselves, what we have, what kind of fears we have, what we expect of ourselves in the world. Um, so our thinking patterns, our feeling patterns, and also our behaviors.
Tina, when I started playing the second half, so I thought second half for me being the moment I'm now after retirement, right? But I'm coming to the realization that even in my own life, that we have many, many second halves. So this is going to be a very important one, and we're going to go through more realization and so. But we have many, many second halves. I mean, we can start a second half this minute or tomorrow. Some are forced upon us. Some others is our own realization or insight that something needs to change. But before we dig into all this, so tell more about little Tina, your upbringing, and what formed you early days.
Yeah.
Wherever you want to start, you can start very early if you want. You know?
Yeah. Well, I was born in 1963 by two very young parents who were both students. They were 21 and 22. But they were married, because I think my grandfather was really afraid that my mother would get pregnant out of marriage. And that was a big thing, because they were really they were very religious on both sides.
Okay.
So they were married. And then they had my sister 3 years later, and their marriage started not working so well. So in the end, they divorced, and my mother met a new man from England and moved there. First, just on her own. So me and my sister were in Sweden with our father for a year. And then she somehow, I don't know, they have here the story differs. According to my father, my mother wanted my sister. According to my mother, my father wanted her to take my sister. So I don't know.
Mhm.
But the why I was with my father and my sister with my mother, that was kind of self-evident, because I've always been a daddy's girl, and that's where I wanted to be.
Okay.
So in the choice sort of between the parents, I really wanted to stay with my dad. And of course, I wanted to stay in Sweden, where I had my grandparents and everything else. So from that age, our family was split in two halves and in two countries. And for the rest of my upbringing, I went to England or Scotland, where they later moved, about twice a year.
Okay.
My sister came here twice a year. So every school holiday, we were together, either in Sweden or here. So it was sort of alternating. So every second Christmas, every second Easter, and then 1 month each summer, I was in England or Scotland. And my sister was here, the same alternation. So that was kind of special also. I mean, also growing up with a dad, this is in the 60s and 70s. It wasn't so usual that fathers took care. I didn't have any friends who grew up with their children, with their fathers. And so I was happy because that's where about it, because that's where I wanted to be. I felt more safe with him. But there was also always that comparison with others, and also a lot of women around me feeling very sorry for me, and where's your mother? Don't you have your mother? And
How young were you when they went to different countries?
yeah, 6. I was 6.
Years.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit like Alfons Åberg, the Swedish, cartoon. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's right. I was an Alfons Åberg with. And my father was a bit like Alfons Åberg's father as well. I mean, he was very good at taking care of. I mean, he was good at cooking and baking bread and sort of taking care of, practical things around the house.
You said he's still alive, or?
Yeah.
And your mother as well.
And my mother, yes.
Yeah,
both.
they were young, so still.
Yeah.
How close are you to your sister today? Because I mean, did you manage to be very close still as a family? And
yeah, with my sister, yes, we have a very close relationship, and we talk to each other quite a lot. And we've talked. It's been really helpful because we both had issues with our parents through the years in various ways. And it's been so good to have one more person in my life that has the same 2 parents, and that I've been able to talk to, and she to me. And so she's really, really important to me. And of course, my relationship to my mother is so because to have a real parent connection, you need to be there and sort of grow up. And I mean, she didn't see where I went to school. She never met my friends. She didn't know what my life was like. And I think that's
pity that you guys weren't twins, because you could then exchange.
yeah. Yeah, that would have been something. No, and that was also a thing, that we were never alone with the other parent, because that's the way the agreement was, that either we were in Sweden together or we were in England together. We never switched parent.
Did your father find another partner, or?
Yes, yeah, he found his current wife when I was 15. They met.
Okay.
And I really liked her from the beginning. Really did. And then they started a family.
Okay.
So 2 months after I was 18 and my father no longer had, this guardianship over me, my oldest younger brother was born. And then they had 3 boys in 6 years or something.
Okay.
So he went on.
Big family at the end.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So that's also, yeah.
How was at the school? I mean, besides these strange feelings, maybe that you felt at school, just a father, right, until you were 15. I mean, but all the early school age. How was it at school? Did you have been? I mean, if we go back, for instance, with an interview that we had with Pontus, it was a very difficult time for him, school. How was it for you?
Yeah, I think my school life was also rather different, because we moved a lot. So, and also in different countries. So I lived 1 year in Sweden for the first year of school, which, as far as I remember, I felt quite lonely. And then I had a year where I lived with my mother's family, because my father also moved to England, and he got a scholarship for 10 months at Oxford. So that year I lived with my mother, and then it's in an English school, and then back to Sweden again. Gothenburg is where I'm born, so that's where this happened. And then I lived with my dad. And then me and my father lived outside Gothenburg for 2 years. And then he got a job in Geneva. So we moved there. And then I went to a small Swedish school in Geneva with just 24 pupils. And then after 2 years, he got another job in Uppsala. So we moved to Uppsala. So yeah, my school years have been new situations, new friends, new languages, rather disruptive. But I've always felt really shy and afraid sort of the first days of a new school, but I always found friends actually. So it wasn't really a problem. After that first year, I remember my first school year, I felt really lonely. But after that, that hasn't been a problem. And, yeah, and in my personality, I'm kind of an enthusiast, so I am sort of positive and optimistic, and I guess, yeah, I was rather good at school, so that was kind of easy.
Okay.
So school was sort of, something I just did. And I did find friends everywhere I went, and I didn't get into any trouble or anything. But I think I had carried, well, that's something I've discovered in later years in various forms of the diamond approach and other kind of working on my personality, that I was also sad on the inside about, not having a mother and not living with my sister, and just that life was a little not so secure all the time. But there was an insecurity.
I moved myself just once when I was 10 years old from São Paulo in Brazil to Rio de Janeiro. But I mean, this was for me a big life transition that I still remember. And in the sense that, in a way, I think I became a little bit of a shy person for many years, because it was something new school and you feel insecure. And so, not that I'm so shy any longer, but I think it proved one thing that, for me at least, was very much this with what my mother was not so happy with this move. So she was a little bit negative, which means that we didn't embrace something great, which I think we should.
Yeah.
So I think it depends also how your parents, if it was exciting going to leave, and all these plays a big role, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and of course, the thing that was frustrating for me was that it wasn't my decision ever. I mean, one decision I definitely did not want to stay in England and live with my mother, because I tried that for you and I did not want that. I wanted to go back to Sweden with my dad. So that move was really a happy one. But then it was his decision his work, and I didn't have a say in it. And also moving to Uppsala instead of back to Gothenburg, where I was born, I wanted to, that's where I thought we were going back to, but no. But then I actually made him promise that now I'm going to have to go to at least those 3 years, because that's what I started when I went to Uppsala, in the same school. You can't make me move again in at least these 3 years. And he kept to that. And then, of course, he met his wife, and so he's still in Uppsala. So.
Then you're 18 years old already on your own, and he gets a new family, right?
Yeah, I lived at home until I was 20.
Okay.
So I was there for the first two brothers as well.
And then you start to study to be a economy, right?
Yeah, well, actually I started working after gymnasium.
Okay.
I didn't know what I wanted to be. Actually, both my parents are academics. They both have PhDs. I didn't sort of even, I don't remember thinking about going to university. My father wasn't very into my studies at all. So I didn't feel that it was any pressure or any expectation or anything. So I went to work in an office and with administrative stuff, and found that, this was kind of easy, and I thought it was quite interesting. And then some years later, so it took 3 years, and then I went to university and did the civilekonom in Uppsala, which was a fantastic time as well for me, because I was really engaged in one of the nations, Norrlands nation.
Mhm.
I worked there also for 1 term full time, and I had lots of different positions, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Lots of partying and lots of people and friends, and it was really fun time. And that's also where I met my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So it must be very nice to study in a university city like Uppsala.
Yeah,
Okay.
Uppsala, yeah, it's great. Yeah, and with these student nations, it's I don't know, you can't find. I haven't found it anywhere else. And fantastic big houses, old buildings that the nations own, and Norrlands nation is the biggest, I think, one of the biggest. So there was a lot of like running a small company
Mhm.
working there. So yeah, that was lots of fun.
And directly after university, you start in banking. How? Tell me.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, actually, I had a dream to go back to Gothenburg, but then I had already met my husband, and he got a job first in Stockholm. So that's why we ended up in Stockholm. And I was I would finish my studies in 1989, and that was a really high period of growth. And it was really easy to get a job. I think I applied for 3 jobs, and I got 2 of them.
Okay, nice.
One of them was in a bank doing corporate banking, but in a small branch office in central Stockholm. So that was a good job for me, because one of my characteristics in my personality is that I really like diversity, or when things change. I mean, I don't like to do the same thing all the time. So this was a job that had both administrative stuff, but also meeting clients and talking to them, and a little bit of thinking and writing, and so that's where I enjoyed it. And
So moving a lot, and even if it was banking, but moving and doing it.
yeah.
We have a saying in Brazil, Tina, that we say, crocodile that stands still becomes a bag.
That's
So
a good saying.
it's a good one, right? And
Yeah.
I can see in front of me this young Tina doing career, enjoying life. Up to now, you have a very good life, right? Despite your parents separating and anything up to this
I mean,
point.
things have sort of worked out for
Yeah.
me. Yes, they have. But
children? How did you have children then?
yeah. And then I suddenly was pregnant. Wasn't planned, but that was 1990. And we already lived together. We weren't married, but we lived together. So we had our first daughter.
Okay.
And then we have 3 daughters who were born 1990, 94, and 2000. So they're spread out a little bit, and that was by choice, because I had seen how tired my father and his wife were with these 3 boys within 6 years, who were quite intense. So I had I had promised myself that I would never have children that close in age, and I wouldn't have 3, and I wouldn't have children after a certain age or something. But I only managed to keep 1 of those, actually. They're spread apart, but I have 3, and I did have a child after 35. So because I just felt when I came home to them that it was kind of chaos. I thought, I don't want to have it like this. But I think having the children further apart was really a good choice, because I could sort of focus on one child until they were more self-going, and then the next, and then the next.
Nice.
But
If you
but
don't,
something that happened actually after my third daughter was born that was quite painful was that I had a conflict with my dad, and we split, you could say,
okay.
and we hardly spoke to each other for the next 20 years.
Well,
So in spite of having grown up with him and being so close, I think it has to, I don't want to go into the details, but I think it has to do with my parents' own divorce. There was a wound inside him. And when I didn't want to be on his side, so to speak, which I've been all my life anymore, I tried to explain that I want to have my own position in the family and not be in this 2 and 2. And that was, he couldn't really take that. And
that must be a really hard thing. 20
yeah,
years.
it's really, really hard and painful. And although in hindsight, what did happen was I was more free to be myself and not be dependent on him liking or what I did. So I think from then my own spiritual journey took off a lot more than I think it would have been able to do under his sort of, because he's an atheist and very negative towards anything like that.
So even if it's such a long period, because if I take to myself, I have 6 brothers and sisters. We are altogether 6, so to say. And sometimes I can be periods without speaking with one or the other. And my parents, I had also, but I always regret in some ways. Do you regret this, the 20 years, no?
Well, it was sort of his choice, more or less. So I couldn't do very much. But now I see it as a gift to myself to be able to sort of take my own path in life.
Okay.
And spirituality for me is now one of the most important things in my life. And I don't have to talk about, and my father doesn't even know, I don't think. But I don't have to talk to him about it. It's not, I don't need his approval at all anymore in my life. And I think that's has freed me. And I don't think I could have gone that way in the way I have. Still needing sort of his support or approval. And of course, it's sad. It's really sad. It's
Maybe this is a good segue, Tina, because then 2007, right? After successful career in banking, where you're just going up and 3 children, and I saw your resume and have been in several banks, right?
Yeah.
So you do this transition into spirituality. So, but you mean that maybe this transition, if your father it was easier, maybe. That's what I mean.
Pardon? I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, it was easier without needing your approval. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And no, I started feeling that I wanted more meaning in my life and working with something that felt meaningful. And I didn't feel that it was meaningful anymore I was in cash management sales, and I was sort of trying to convince big corporate or half-size corporate organizations that my bank was better than the other bank. And I really didn't, in my heart, feel that that it was important work or... So I actually left banking. My husband started a company and we had quite a good financial situation. So I left the bank before I had another job. Or before I even knew what I wanted to do. But I had already come across the Enneagram because when I was 31, I think, we met with a group of friends. We started meeting regularly to talk about our lives. And that's sort of when I started being interested in more looking inside and who am I and how am I in relationship to others. And this is a group that's actually still ongoing after 32 years. But in that group...
How many the group?
now we're 10. We've been sort of 6, 7, 8, and 10. But from the beginning, the group had a more Christian connotation as well, because the organizer of the group was in a Christian organization called the Navigators. But the Christian thing we did was that we had used the Bible as an inspiration for our talks. So we read mainly the evangelics, about Jesus and his disciples. And but we made that kind of a starting point for and how do I recognize this in my own life? And so the talks were always about ourselves and our relationships and our parents. And but in that group, this man who sort of led the group introduced the Enneagram one summer, and we read a book and we found out where sort of tried to find ourselves, and we thought it was really helpful. And that sort of became a companion for me and my husband as well in our life, understanding our different personalities and how they worked together and what was different, and just sort of accepting our differences as this is nothing some of this we can't change. This is just a personality structure or pattern. So I think in that sense, it's been really, really helpful. And so that was sort of with me, and I read more books and listened to talks, in those days, there weren't any podcasts or anything, but we managed to get hold of these CD discs with talks from teachers, international teachers, American teachers.
Explain more, Tina. So, Enneagram.
Enneagram, yeah.
So the name, as I understand, is 9.
Yeah.
Right. So like the 9 stars, the series they have, right?
That's right.
So as I understand, Enneagram comes from the US. It's part of psychology, as one maybe school, you can say, right?
Yeah. Well, it comes from various sources, actually. Yeah. The two main people who sort of built the Enneagram as a more personality tool were South Americans, actually. One from Chile and one from no, I don't remember, Brazil, maybe. Well, but the guy from Chile, Claudio Naranjo, he came to Berkeley in the 70s or late 60s, and he started teaching the Enneagram there, and from there it grew into the world, and people started writing books about it, and now it's all over the world. But the thing is, since it just wasn't started by one person and in one place, nobody owns the Enneagram, so it's a free tool, freeware, so to speak. So there's lots of books, and nowadays lots of podcasts and YouTube, and so you can study it on your own. You don't need to go to school or anything, and nobody owns it, so you don't have to pay for anything really either if you don't want to. So
explain it as if I am 6 years old now. Right?
What is it?
Yeah. So the Enneagram is 9 pattern strategies, right?
Yeah.
That people naturally relates, or how to say, follows, right?
Well, I think, what we can say is what also science shows is that when we are born, we are not sort of a blank slate in our personality. We have already a temperament, is what they call it, usually in small children. So some parts of our personality, they don't change through life. And nowadays, I think people in research, they say like 50% of your personality doesn't change. And the Enneagram shows these 9 different strategies or patterns in life. And they go very well together so they are kind of 9 different temperaments. And from that, you develop, of course, certain things that you are very good at, because some things in your personality work very well. And some people are just automatically optimistic, like I am, or automatically take responsibility, or just automatically speak up for themselves and for others. That's just how they are. And these things are very well described in the Enneagram. I think that's the personality tool that I've come across that's the most sort of to the point, descriptive, but people really say often when they're introduced to it, like, this is like somebody's been in my head and really
Exactly.
how can it be so exact?
And it's 9. So
It's 9, yeah.
So if we start with the 1 and go through the 9.
Yeah, so it's we can start with the 9 actually, which is on top. So it's also a symbol, a circle, and then there are also lines between the 9 strategies. So on top is a 9, the mediator, and they also have different drives. So the mediator has a drive for harmony. So that's a person who's really nice and friendly, but can also maybe not speak up for themselves. There's always a positive side to the strategy, and then there's also when you sort of overdo what you're good at, it becomes something negative, and that's also really clear in the Enneagram. And I also want to say that it's not like we have only one of these patterns, but we recognize one more. One sort of goes together with this temperament that we have, and then we recognize things in all of them. Absolutely, I mean they're not silos. So the 9, and then the 1 is called the reformer. It's more somebody who's more very good at organizing things and sees details, and great at reforming and making things better. On the negative side, they might be very critical and also very critical of themselves, because there's always things to fix and make better. And then number 2 is a helper, who, of course, is very helpful and sees other people's needs all around them and really wants to be there for others. And can, with that, forget about themselves and not look at their own needs and be too involved with other people and other people's lives. And then there's the 3 called the achiever, who's really good at achieving and setting goals and being effective and reaching results and making things happen. But also only in that very identified with that role of being the doer and doing things and making things happen, and can be too identified with their working role or be over what's it called? Workaholics and just so identified with their own doing and not with their also being. And the 4 is called the individualist, which is more of person who's very creative and often artistic and really uses their heart and emotions in life and are really looking also into a lot about how they feel. They're very focused on their own emotions, which can be very can flower and be very creative and I think a lot of people within theater and cinema and arts but that can also be too much of that, of course, and too much focus on me and my feelings. And
that's so interesting. Just if we stop there, because if I relate to other interviews, I mean, it's fascinating. Pontus, in early days, he was into acting.
Yeah.
And he tells exactly that. It's a métier, an area where people are extremely individualist.
Yeah.
And it's not him.
No.
So, but that's the other interview. So
people sort of get in clusters in different workspaces, and we've seen that. Yeah, and then there's the 5, which is called the investigator, which is somebody who's much more in the head. And more into understanding things and studying and really want to go deep in their interests and studies and try to sort of see the world through the mind and make new discoveries. Or so a lot of people, I think, within research but really like to be by themselves also in that. So they can be too maybe reserved or too focused on one thing that might not be very useful or a little nerdy. Yeah. And then there's a 6, it's called the loyalist, which is somebody who's sort of a mixture of mental and emotional, very loyal and very good at seeing risks and sort of thinking wide about what could happen in different areas, and also very friendly, really, because they want to keep safe. That's their sort of main drive. But that can also turn into seeing everything that could go wrong and catastrophic scenarios and really scaring themselves. So that's the backside of that. And then we have the seventh enthusiast, where I recognized myself mostly.
Mm-hmm.
That is sort of enthusiastic and likes new things and do different things and try things out and not afraid of things going wrong, or so also quite creative and curious about life.
Sure.
But then on the backside, other parts of life that are not so joyful, they kind of skip over that, or skip over painful emotions, or try to sort of look on the bright side all the time. And, that's not really how life works. And then we have the 8, who's called the challenger, which is somebody who is more likes challenges in life, and also sometimes challenges other people. But these are people who, quite a lot of people in the sort of business world, high up or in politics, you see, they tend to have this pattern, because they speak up what they think and what they want, and they tell other people what to do, and sort of much more authoritative, and can be quite dominant also. But great leaders when they are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move back to the 9. So those are very, very short about the 9. And I just want to add one thing. The Enneagram is also built on the idea that we have what we call 3 different intelligences, and that's nothing that only is in the Enneagram. I mean, we have our mental or mind intelligence, we have our emotional intelligence, and we have the body intelligence. Mm-hmm. So 3 of the strategies, the 8, 9, and 1, are in the more body intelligence. The 2, 3, and 4 are more in the emotional intelligence, and the 5, 6, and 7 are more in the headspace.
Right. This is so intriguing and exciting. I'm thinking, just one thing that happened this week,
Yeah.
Because let's say in a group discussion I have, we start discussion anger.
Yeah.
And anger for me is very healthy. It has been something that has helped me in some life transitions. I had, for instance, a period, I had a boss that could scream at people. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It took 15 years for me to see that it's not only terrible, this is harassment, And I mean, I could go to work and I had this really loud music, it was called A New Day. My daughter, I wrote about that. So my daughter is reading, that's why you had every day when I left me to school, this song, But it was a way for me to manage this with anger. Yeah. And I have an article that I love from Professor Hitendra Vadua that he talks about Martin Luther King and others that actually have to deal with anger. And that anger is, and feelings are something that he starts this post in a very beautiful way that sometimes we think about a leader that just about results, right? Or a good leader is about results, or an even better leader about results and how they achieve it. But we forget that maybe it's even about the feelings that this leader has. Anyhow, for me, something that's self-evident. Anger is important, period. But we had such a heated discussion in this group. Not everybody agreed with me. And some people felt, no, I think we need to be much more, how to say, conceal more. And so it was very, very intriguing. That's why I'm bringing this up. Right? Can some discussions like like that intrigues you come to better understand if you understand that we are Yeah.
For sure, absolutely. I mean, there are some patterns or strategies in the Enneagram that really are afraid of anger and even of their own anger and really try to push it down so it becomes more kind of a passive aggressive stance. I mean, I also think anger is, as you said, Martin Luther King. I can give you one example of two people in the that probably have the same Enneagram pattern, but depending on their level of sort of health, there's also something called levels of development in the Enneagram, which says how attached are you to your pattern, or if you're more free, you're using it in a good way. If you're very attached, you're really stuck in one pattern and in the really bad parts of it. So, for instance, Martin Luther King, I think he was a challenger because he used his anger in a good way to make things happen, not to be sort of angry and screaming at people. And then we have the president in the United States at the moment, Donald Trump, probably the same pattern, but in a very unhealthy person that becomes anger and abuse, and it's the same pattern, but it's really two coins, two sides, the healthy or the unhealthy side of it.
And it's almost like in the case of Trump, it's more than anger, it's hatred.
Hatred, yeah, for sure. It's hatred and bullying and all that. But it's interesting that it's same. On the inside, it's the sort of wanting to make things happen, and the inside is also fear, of course, with Trump, that somebody else is going to push him down. So you need to push, keep everybody away so that nobody can see that you actually have some kind of maybe tiny vulnerability somewhere on the inside.
But this is so interesting, because then I see now, with your help, that sometimes in discussions with group, how I relate, how sometimes I have a tendency maybe to, like in this discussion, that understanding is helping me to understand better also where people come from, right? I mean,
that's also the charm with something like the Enneagram, that half of it is understanding other people and really seeing and appreciating them for being different from what you are. And especially in relationships, I've had it with my husband and with our children, and they now use the Enneagram with their partners. And so just because otherwise I think we try to guess how the other person works, and we take for granted that they function the same way that we do because they think that's kind of normal. And people don't. And then we just get confused and irritated or misunderstand and have exceptions on others that they will never fulfill because that's not who they are.
Tina, so we are in 2007 when you decide for this fantastic new second half, right?
Second half, yeah.
And
one of the second halves, as you
one
said.
of the second halves. And I'm thinking here, but you didn't have any doubt. What I mean is, sometimes I believe that some transitions, the difficulty is this feeling of things that I can lose. If you're already in a career and so, right?
Yeah.
You didn't have any doubt. You just...
No, and I've never been really career driven at all. I've been more interested in if it was fun or not, because that's my main sort of drive. If I'm enjoying myself and I like it, then I'll stay. If I'm not, then I'm not goal oriented at all. So that wasn't. No, it felt like, no, I'm going on to something more fun and more interesting, and we'll see what happens. And then during that year, I was for a year sort of thinking about, and I was working with on a more non-profit place with a friend, and thinking about what to do. And then I met my business partner that I joined, who also was very into the Enneagram. We met a couple of times, but not very much. But she was also had this dream about making something of the Enneagram in Sweden, because there wasn't much around. And we saw in other countries the Enneagram was quite big. And in Denmark, for instance, there were lots of consultants and schools. And so we thought, why not make it make a try and do this in Sweden. So we started that in 2008.
This interesting in spirituality, then.
Yeah.
Where do you track back? You mentioned that your parents were religious, right?
No, my grandparents were
Grandparents, okay.
very religious.
Yeah.
And my parents both
Yeah.
very atheistic and still are.
Okay.
I think, as far as I know, I don't talk to them. But so I was sort of taught that this was just rubbish. And but it started with more the sense that no, I want to find out for myself. I don't want to take on what they think. So that's why I was also interested in this group where we started reading the Bible and getting to know what was that messages from Jesus and then in the Enneagram teaching, the Enneagram can be looked at just as a personality tool, but it also has a spiritual context if you want to use it that way. And that was part of, I took an Enneagram training then at something called the Enneagram Institute. So I went to trainings in New York and also in Europe because they came to Europe sometime. And that was part of, and they were part of something called the Diamond Approach, my teachers, which
tell me.
Curious about. What's that? And they used techniques in the trainings that were from the Diamond Approach, techniques with something called inquiry or inquiry.
But tell me more about the Diamond Approach.
Yeah, so the Diamond Approach it's a school, it's a sort of spiritual and psychological path. So most people who are part of the Diamond Approach, they join a group. Groups get started. And there was a group starting in Sweden in 2011. And I didn't have the time then because we were sort of working with the business. But it started 2009. But 2011, I suddenly, there was a time and it fitted well to go to this first retreat. So I went to retreat. And the format is you sort of go along a path with different teachings through the years. And this group is still ongoing. I've been in the group for 15 years now, and there are groups that are 30 years. But so it's both about learning about yourself and about your parents. That comes back really all the time. So it's a lot of psychological work, both in group settings, like sort of group therapy and one-on-one sessions, and in teachings, and doing lots of exercises with your fellow group members.
Okay.
So I go to these retreats twice a year ever since. It's a week every time. We go to Ängsbacka in Värmland.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of meditation also as part of it. And it's sort of a mixture of different. It's spiritual but not religious, and it doesn't say do this way. It says here are some ways you can do. I've tried this. Maybe you want to try it too. But there's no sort of dogma, no guruing, or because I'm kind of allergic to that.
Yeah, because this is my question. I had you read my thoughts here.
Yeah.
One part of me, and especially now that I retired, and so I am. My father was very Catholic. My mother also. I am not. I also almost got excommunicated by the Catholic Church, but that's another stuff. But I am now, as a retired, reflecting more. Of course, I am spiritual. I mean, if you look just the surroundings and all these trees and the birds and so, I mean, if you're not, I mean, wonder all this beauty around us,
Yeah.
But having said that, I mean, when you say that, I want to be part of a group. Starting one, like, can I join tomorrow? At the same time, I get very concerned and worried about this with cult, or how do you say, I'm very concerned also, and I get a little bit pushed back. Tell me about why this is not then a cult, or what are the dangers, or how, Yeah, I think especially for people listening, right? That,
Yeah.
you know.
And I agree. I'm really also very afraid of cults. But the whole, one of the sort of key things in the diamond approach is looking into yourself, and truth is a very important, and truth is not one truth. Truth is what is true in this moment for you. And that could be something different tomorrow, or and definitely different from somebody else. So it's trusting yourself and sort of trusting your own path, and not taking things on by somebody else. And then of course there is a man who has started the diamond approach. He's called Hamid Ali, and he's now in his 80s. And it's the path is sort of built on what he has discovered during his own spiritual path. And he teaches that, and he writes a lot of books. But if you're part of the diamond, you don't need to read his books. I don't. I think they're pretty boring most of the time. They're very thick. There's a lot of. I have several here, but and some are easier. And that's okay.
Yeah,
that's totally okay. You
and
don't have to.
he's okay if he listens, right?
Okay, that's totally, yeah.
You already told him.
So there's no, in that sense, sort of dogma. You have to do this, or that the diamond approach is sort of any better than. I mean, I'm sure there are several spiritual paths that are as good. It's just that this one seems to suit me because I like this being in a group and taking this path together with people that do it at the same time. So we've sort of seen each other evolve, and yeah. So there's actually a new group in Sweden starting now. So maybe you want to join.
Yes. Sign me up. Let's take offline. I got very interesting, particular this that is not, I have this group, as you might know, called for these dreamers, doers, and this is for me so important. It's non-negotiable. Never. The doubter is so important. It's so important. Even when we discuss anger, like it says, that we are not in an agreement. The only thing we agree that we disagree all the time.
Oh, that's good. That's a good group.
So
I mean, for instance, we have one person in our group. She's a priest in the Norwegian church.
Yes.
So people come from all walks of life. And I've heard the people that are nuns and monks, or nuns in Irish groups, and that's totally fine. So.
Yeah. And I love that you can say that the book is very boring, and he's fine with that.
And some people love his books and really are into all the details, and that's great for them. And also, again, the Enneagram is actually also part of the diamond approach. Not that some groups use it a lot. Our group has not. We've had one retreat about the Enneagram, and then of course people are interested in it, some of them, so we talk about it, but it's not been a big deal. But the Hamid has written a couple of Enneagram books as well. Because, I guess he finds the Enneagram very suitable for this work.
This is so good. So I know what I'm going to do, maybe next week or when they start. Tina, we could continue for hours. This is so, I'm enjoying so much. But I think if we start wrapping up a little bit, then I wonder, I sent you
Yeah.
So one question that's coming up in my mind is, if they're the famous life is a box of chocolates, it's your life. I mean, with all the transitions you view into spirituality, and it serves as an inspiration for me as I'm learning so much now during our conversation. But what are the chocolates that you feel that, well, this was really good, or this I regret, or if there is any, and what are the ones that you are looking forward as a next maybe transition or so?
Yeah. I think the last one might be the easiest for me to answer, because that's also how my personality is looking more to the future than back. Yeah. And now I'm actually in a new, so my I feel like my life is full of chocolates now because I'm cutting down. We've cut down on work a lot, me and my colleagues. So the Enneagram Center that we started is now transitioning into something much smaller, and hopefully somebody will take over. We'll see. So I'm in a new phase in my life where I don't really know what's going to happen, and I like that. I feel like kind of full of possibilities.
Do you
Uh,
mean you're kind of retiring, or?
well, I don't know. I'm sort of in a gap year, I think, this year. But I would like to work, but maybe more not for profit. Or I mean, I do some work for Klosteret,
Mhm. Yes.
we're both part of, and I'm also a volunteer in the Suicide Line for Mind. So I do a couple of things that are sort of more volunteer work.
Tell me a little bit on this with Suicide Line, because this is very interesting. I know that Andreas, that's also,
Yeah, he's there too. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
it's our last interview. But
Yeah.
this is fantastic. I mean, and it's just something voluntary work, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not much. You can do more, but I do
Yeah.
what's so asked of you, like 8 hours a month.
Mhm.
And it's not as scary as it might sound.
Mhm.
It's when people are sometimes are really on the verge of suicide, but there's also a lot of loneliness out there. So people are lonely or feeling a lot of angst, and so it's more.
I must say, I get so almost emotional to hear this, because it's fantastic. I think a person to take the phone and call. In any
Yeah,
case, if it's about to do something or not, it must be tremendous loneliness, and and that you're there.
yeah,
Fantastic, Tina.
yeah. It's both phone and chat,
Yeah,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A phone, and it's really it's different. Phone is a lot more in people who are lonely and who actually just want to talk,
Huh?
and who also, I think, some of it, and then some people are really desperate. And the chat is, I think, more people who feel angst, and they also have maybe uh, behaviors. I don't know what's called självskadebeteende. When you hurt yourself, you cut
Yeah.
yourself. So they kind of call us instead of, or one way of trying to prevent themselves from hurting themselves. There's a lot of that.
So you're going from this fantastic work you have done and built in Sweden,
Yeah,
to fill with new chocolates now.
yeah, exactly. And different. That's why I like Aladdin. I mean, my life is going to be. It's not going to be. I mean, it's been the Enneagram for 17 years, like the primary thing. And now I feel I want to have many different white chocolates and light and brown, and do several different things, I think is what I'm looking forward to. And then I have my 3 daughters. I have 3 grandchildren as well
Mhm.
in Gothenburg. So I visit them. And I enjoy the freedom of not having this daily sort of work and responsibilities to go to.
So let's
Yeah.
forget all. Let's not look back. Let's not get the bad chocolate. Uh, One thing that I don't know about you, but in this period in life that I am now, we are about the same age.
Yeah.
I'm from 62.
Yeah. And I'm 63,
Yeah.
from 63, and I will be 63 this year as well.
But what I'm getting more and more, and why I early retired, and so it is this with time, right?
Yeah.
So what 2 questions in one. What is a really beautiful, perfect day for you in terms of how you use time, and this summer now, how you making the best of it? If it's a message in the bottle 10 years from now, what was really special about this summer?
Yeah. Well, in a day, how I use my time, what is important for me is a yoga, yoga every day, and meditation every day. and moving. I like to move. I like to run or walk or get out. So that's
You're not a crocodile.
no, I won't be a bag. So that's and then I kind of like doing little sort of administrative fixing things, and I like cooking and that kind of thing. So that's also good, and also meeting friends, friends that I feel that that we talk about interesting things, or curious people that I have in my life. That's really fun.
Great.
And for this summer, summers we usually our summers have sort of really packed and planned, and we're doing this and then that, but this summer is more open, and I like that. I think we're going to be more at home, and every summer we kind of look back at, why weren't we more at home? So this summer we are going to, and we live close to the sea, and it's almost like a summer house, the house we have. So so I will look forward to that.
It feels like Sweden is perfect during the summer, so we are.
Yes, sure. Don't have to go anywhere.
Yes.
I have everything here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Tina, this has been simply fantastic, and we know each other just online, right?
Yeah.
Exchanging menus and messages, and so now I feel that I know you not only, and we're gonna stay online now after we close here because I want to get the dates for the dining abroad. Are we gonna do like this then? Say goodbye, and it's midsummer week as we record this.
Yes.
But and so when this is published, I hope that we have had good weather here in Sweden, right?
And I want some rain. I really like these couple of days when it's been raining, because I have a garden, and
yes,
we need that too.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.